Let's go over the syntax for break and continue statements in Python.
This video is brought to you by OppiePy's Academy.
Now, truth be told, I don't actually use these very much when I'm programming, but other developers depend on them much, much more, so I do want you to be familiar with them. A break statement's job is to break out of a loop when it's encountered. This works with while loops or for loops. So let's say, for example, we have a while loop, I equals 0, and we say while I is less than 100, we're going to print the value of I. However, we're going to have a test in here. We're going to say if I equals 15, then we're going to break. All right, so let's take a closer look at this entire loop. So this loop is going to test while I is less than 100. So we're going to print the value of I, and then we're going to test if I equals 15 break. And then we're going to add our I equals I plus 1. So next time through the loop, it's going to be 2. 2 is less than 100. And eventually we'll get to, in this case, 15. And it'll say if I equals 15, then it's going to run this break. Now also notice carefully the indentation. This break is indented because that's what happens if this if statement evaluates as true. The rest is indented as part of the loop. Let's go ahead and save this and take a look at how it runs. So I'm going to save this as break example. And of course with the .py extension. And then we can run it. Let's get a new Python window here. And navigate to where we're supposed to go. All right, so let's run it. Python break example.py. So we get to 15 and we stop. Notice we printed I, so there's 15. And then it said, okay, I is equal to 15, so we're going to break out of the loop entirely. So this is used if we need to exit a loop quickly for whatever reason. So, okay, so we've got our first example. Let's try it with a with a for loop. Works exactly the same way. So let's say for letter in happy birthday. So remember, this is going to iterate through letter by letter. And what we're going to do is we're going to print the letter with our print statement. Just like that. And then we're going to test if letter equals, and let's go with a space here, then break. So what should happen is we should see HAPPY, and then we should see letter blank, and then it should break. Let's see what happens here. Don't forget to save. Okay, and let's run it again. HAPPY, and then we get this blank. Remember, we're getting the blank because we're printing before our break statement. If we wanted to, we could move this down here below the break, and now it's going to act a little differently, right? It's going to break first. So when it gets to that space, this will be true, and the break statement will run. So if I run it one more time, oops, forgot to save. If we run it one more time, we only get HAPPY, and the space does not output. So that's a break statement. That breaks out of the loop entirely. Let's do one more, and this will be an example of a continue statement. Now, a continue statement's a little bit harder to conceptualize. The idea of a continue statement is it skips the current iteration of the loop, but continues running overall. So it'll just skip the current iteration. So if we use the for example again, letter in happy birthday, and then we say if letter equals space, then continue, and now we print, let's do it this way, letter, and the letter. This is going to act a little bit differently. So you saw what happened before, but now we have a continue statement, not a break statement. So let's go ahead and save this. I'll call this continue.py. And you can see how these would be handy, right? So let's run continue.py. And notice we get HAPPY, birthday. So here's what happened, right? It's iterating through the text with the for loop, gets to the H does not equal space, so it prints the letter. A does not equal space, PY, but then it gets to the space. So now letter equals space is true. So it runs the continue, and it goes back and keeps going through the loop. It doesn't do the rest of the result of the loop and print out the letter, which is why we have this particular result. So there you've seen break and continue statements in the Python programming language.